The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello and welcome to today's presentation. My name is Tim Pearce and I'm ably accompanied here today by my colleague Dan King. The idea of today's presentation is to highlight a solution that BTCSoftware has produced, designed to meet the challenges faced by sole traders and businesses in terms of the new entity for VAT legislation. In terms of the agenda for today's session, it will be as follows. There'll be a brief introduction as to who we are, who are BTCSoftware, which will explain how we've got to where we've got to in terms of being able to deliver a solution and how we've been accredited by HMRC in order to provide and facilitate that particular module. We'll then look at making tax digital now it's a live animal, so the impact on your particular business. The solution overview, that will be the the main highlight of the presentation in terms of an overview of our solution. We'll then discuss very briefly some pricing, and then there'll be a question answer session. For those of you who are listening to this as a recording, the question and answer session will be omitted from the presentation. Okay, so who are BTCSoftware? Who are we? We were founded in 1999. We were founded through the union of an accountant in practice and that of a successful software developer back when. Our client base includes both business owners and sole traders. We also service many accountancy practices who use our tax accounts production software in addition to our VAT filing and MTD solutions. We have in the region of 10,000 users who are reliant on our software. And we are a UK-based entity with one central office located in Addlestone, which is in North East Surrey. And a bit of headline news here. We were recently bestowed with 3 awards in relation to the 2018 Accounting and Web Software Excellence Awards. Now, those particular awards were related to the software that we would provide an accountant with, both in practice and also in industry. So MTD, the impact on your business. Let's just run through a few points here before we sort of briefly move towards the crunch of the demo, which will be the presentation of the solution itself. So as I'm sure you'll be aware, all VAT registered businesses with a turnover above VAT threshold of £85,000 per annum will have to comply with the recent changes in legislation, i.e. making tax digital. Businesses must keep VAT records digitally, as we'll explore throughout the actual showing of the solution. A digital record can include an Excel spreadsheet. Returns must be sent via MTD compliant software, so the revenue are moving businesses towards commercial propositions. Now, that brings us on to who is our solution aimed at, who's it for? So essentially it's aimed for those businesses who don't have an actual bookkeeping software per se. In addition, businesses who will keep manual records. Those businesses using non-MTD compliant bookkeeping softwares, that could relate to older versions of existing and well-known bookkeeping providers. Those using Microsoft Excel spreadsheets to build up the VAT detail. and kind of ties in with the third point in terms of those using non-entity compliant bookkeeping software, but those businesses who do not want to upgrade to existing bookkeeping accounting software. So kind of links in actually both to the third, second, and first point. Okay, so at this juncture, I'm going to pass the microphone over to Dan, and Dan Keane will show in all its glory our MTD for VAT solution. Over to you, Dan.
Thank you, Tim. So we're going to be looking at 3 different methods of how we can import your VAT detail into BTCHub. So how we can transfer that data that you've got in your existing software, or whether you've got that in existing spreadsheets, or if you're keeping your records manually, how we can bring you into a spreadsheet, and how you can use our template in order to make you MTD compliant. So firstly, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tab out of the presentation and open up the hub. Now you can see here I've logged into BTCHub via my default browser, which is Chrome. This will work on Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, whichever browser that you use. And it being a web browser-based solution, that does mean it's a cloud product. So it's a software as a service product. So we're logging in here using our web browser, which means there's no downloads required. The only download that we'll be looking at is the MTD Excel add-in, which we'll look at. And all of your data is stored securely in 2 UK-based Amazon data centers, and you can access the software from anywhere, and you're not having to worry about backups of your data either. So once I've logged into BTCHub, which I'm going to do now, I'll give you a walkthrough of the solution in terms of what we're looking at. And we'll open up the hub. So we've got my user featured on the right-hand side. Now, a subscription of BTCHub will enable you to have up to 5 users of the software. We've got a notification bell, and then importantly, we've got a help menu, which is going to offer you a quick start guide in order to get up and running with the software. As well as the quick start guides, we will offer telephone and email support, and Tim will explain how that works later on in the presentation. We've got our main menu featured on the left-hand side, and I'll go through each of these different options now. So the first option that we've got there is our home menu, which is going to feature a dashboard view of the recent VAT returns that we've added into the hub, and then also recent clients as well. So for those of you who will be filing returns for multiple VAT registration numbers, you'll have a list of your organizations here. For those of you who are just filing under the one VAT registration number, you're just going to have your organization as opposed to a list of clients here. And as I said, you'll have a list of your organizations if you have multiple organizations, or if you just have the one, you'll have your one organization that will show under the organizations tab there. We've got the VAT dashboard where we can search for the multiple organizations and populate that 9-box VAT return. And we've also got a VAT report, which will show you your most recent VAT return in terms of the period, where the status of that return is, and if it's overdue, it will appear so in red. Now, importantly for some of you, we've got the MTD Excel add-in, which is where we can download the add-in to move our data from a spreadsheet into BTCHub. And for those of you who are keeping records manually and don't have any digital build-up of your VAT detail, you can download the MTD Excel template. So we've produced a template that will allow you to record your purchases and your sales and your inputs into this specific template, which will then populate a 9-box VAT return for you. So we'll have all the digital links in there, and then you can import that directly into BTCHub. Now, we would recommend that template for those who don't currently use spreadsheets. For those of you that do use spreadsheets, we would recommend you continue using the spreadsheets that you're familiar with, and then import directly from your spreadsheets that you've always used thus far. Now, the first option that we are going to look at is a spreadsheet. So I'm going to move from BTCHub into my example spreadsheet. Now, you may have a spreadsheet that looks similar to this, and you've got your sales and outputs for the business and purchases and inputs. So you've got a couple of tabs here that's recording the VAT return detail of how you've built up each of those different transactions. And then you may or may not have a VAT return summary which lists the detail and importantly it lists those final nine VAT totals that we can see there. Now in each of these boxes with the figures, you can see there within my formula bar I've linked that particular box within my VAT return summary as to where that cell is appearing within my calculation. So the figures that we're bringing from the spreadsheet into BTC Hub are your final calculations, your final figures. HMRC put it nicely, and you don't want to use your keyboard to manually key the figures directly into a VAT return summary. You need that digital audit trail of how you've built up those final 9 VAT figures. So you need that link throughout your spreadsheet or your bookkeeping software as to how you've derived those final figures that you're bringing from the spreadsheet or software into BTC Hub. Now, once you've got to this stage and you've built up the VAT return detail, you can download the MTD Excel add-in. So you can see I've installed my add-in in the top left-hand corner of the screen there, which is the BTC MTD solution. And the first option that we've got there is to define the VAT range. Now you can see I've already predefined the VAT range here, and all I've done is I've selected each of the boxes and I've held control and selected each of the boxes that contains the information that I'm looking to bring from the spreadsheet into BTC Hub. Now you can pick up these boxes from anywhere. If you have multiple spreadsheets, you can pick these boxes up from multiple spreadsheets as well. And once you've done that and you've selected the boxes, you can tick the show VAT range option so you can see the VAT return detail nice and clearly in terms of what information that you're looking to bring across. And when you're ready, you can export the MTD VAT data using the button there. Now, there are 2 ways that we can bring the figures from the spreadsheet into BTC Hub. The first option that you can use is you can save this particular spreadsheet as a CSV file, and you can import the CSV file into BTC Hub. But our most recommended option is to export the MTD VAT data via this button here, which will send all of this VAT return detail directly into a 9-box VAT return via the API that we've built within that add-in. Now, to show you this, I'm going to come back into BTC Hub and completely log out. And I'm going to close this down here and go back to my spreadsheet. Now, as I said, I've already predefined the VAT range here, so I don't have to worry about that. And when I'm ready, I can export the MTD VAT data. Now, as you can see there, that's going to open up BTC Hub automatically using my default browser. I can log in and it's going to populate my 9-box VAT return. Now, we cannot manually key the figures directly in here, and once they've been imported, we cannot manually change them. Whichever source that you're using, you need to go back to that original source and then re-import over the top of this. Now, this being a sandbox environment, an HMRC sandbox environment, this version of the software is a demo version, so I only have 2 obligations here to represent 2 quarters. However, you would have 4 obligations to represent 4 quarters, or if you file monthly returns, you would have 12 obligations there. Now you can see my first obligation there has been fulfilled, and the second obligation is the one that we're is the one that we're currently working on, and it will also show liabilities and payments from the prior year as well. Now, once we've imported our data in here from our spreadsheet, we can save the VAT return detail, and when we're ready, we can choose the edit option, choose submit, confirm that we've read the above legal declaration and have the authorities to submit that information. And then that red box, now that we can see that open obligation, will now turn to a green box as we submit it. And we can view the submission receipt to show our receipt, our correlation ID, and then the exact date and time to the second that that particular VAT return was sent directly to HMRC through our API. So that's the first way that we can bring our figures into BTC Hub. Next, we're going to look at bringing a set of or a VAT return from VT. So for those of you who use VT, there'll be an option for you in that you can bring your VAT return into BTC Hub. So we'll look at that now. So I'm going to just create a new client here, pressing the create client option. And once I've created that client, we'll get the green tick box to say that we can select that client to view the VAT return detail. Now we're logging into HMRC here. I'm going to be logging in using test credentials. However, what you'll need to do as a business is you'll need to sign yourselves up to MTD. So you'll need to sign yourselves up to the pilot. You can do that currently. That is live on the gov.uk website. And we do have a link that we can send you in order to get you signed up as a business to MTD. So you'll need to do that prior to using BTC Hub. Now you'll be logging in using your credentials. And we're going to grant authority here to view the VAT return information and obviously submit directly to HMRC. And we're going to get to that to obligation. And if we click the second obligation there, we'll get to our VAT return. Now to import from VT, I'm going to move out into VT now. So those of you who use BTCSoftware, you'll recognize the homepage here. And if I go to the display menu and go to VAT returns, I can select my VAT return from the left-hand side, choose the new button within VT, which says MTD export. And we'll get a nice message there to say that the VAT return totals have been copied to the clipboard so that we can move them into BTC Hub. So we can choose OK. Go back into BTC Hub. Choose the import option. Select VT from the drop-down. And then paste our data into here. Now once we've got a green box up at the top there to say that the data is valid, we can choose the OK option. And that will populate my 9-box VAT return. Now the final method that we're going to look at now is how to bring a CSV file into this 9-box VAT return. So for those businesses who use finance solutions, maybe use ERP solutions, or those who use software that's maybe not going to be MTD compliant, that you don't want to upgrade to the latest version. The example that I'll be showing you now is a CSV file that's been pulled directly out of Sageline 50. So to import a CSV file into here, we can choose the import option, select CSV, select our file, and you can see there I've saved my file as a CSV file, comma separated value file. And if I open that up, again, we're going to get a nice green box to say the data is valid, and it will just overwrite the information that we've currently brought in from VT with the information that's held within that CSV file. So if I select OK, you can see it's just going to populate my VAT return. So it's as simple as that. Same as we did before, we can save it, and when we're ready, we can submit, confirm we have the authority, and that's our VAT return submitted directly to HMRC. So that will conclude the demonstration of BTC Hub. So I'll pass you back now to Tim, who will finish off the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Dan. So hopefully, off the back of the webinar presentation, you've now seen that there are solutions that will meet various criteria, and there are and is a decent option available to you. Just want to touch on pricing, but also what's included as part of a package. So if you were to purchase the BTC Hub, what you get in terms of the hub at the price, but also in addition what peripheral support there is with the product. So the cost of the solution is £250 plus VAT. The software is sold on an annual license. The software itself, as Dan referenced at the outset in terms of mentioning the various web browsers in which it can be summoned, is software as a service, so it's a cloud solution, it's pure web browser based. It's, as you know, an Excel and bookkeeping bridging solution, so it's designed to meet the requirements. So kind of a good example of businesses that we'll work with would be those who are not wanting to upgrade all of their software infrastructure internally. So that's a kind of a prime example. But also those of you who won't have official bookkeeping software and work primarily off of, say, Excel. The software will enable up to 5 users, so that's obviously at the kind of the thick end. But 5 users can log on to the software at any given point of time. In most cases, we suspect there will be a single person with governance over the VAT return, but we can and do enable up to 5 users on the solution. The crux point here is that we offer both telephone and email support with the products. Obviously, that's important for any new products, and actually moving forward as the product develops. But certainly at the outset, telephone and email support is pivotal, I would suggest, in terms of being able to run with the product from the get-go. And as a reference, we will enhance the product to incorporate additional functionality throughout the duration of your subscription, and you'll be privy to those enhancements as you use and have signed up to the software. Final point, and this is a kind of point of note for those of you who are interested in security around the solution. We use Amazon Secure Server Database for the storage of the solution. Okay, so anyone that has an interest, having attended this live webinar, or if you're listening to this webinar as a recording, I would encourage you to contact our sales team. So you can see there's a telephone number listed there. You may already obviously have access to a telephone number prior to listening to the recording. But do please feel free to contact a member of the sales team. We will have, at any point in time, we will have, by contacting us, incentives in place designed to, in some cases, to maybe extend a contract to ease the initial uptake of the product. I know at the time of the recording we have an incentive whereby we'll extend the contract beyond the initial 12 months. But if you pick up the phone, contact a member of the sales team by selecting that number and choosing option number 1 when you're met with the automated voicemail system, we'll be more than happy to discuss all the incentives we have in place outside of the marketing found on our website. There is a, as you can see below the telephone number, a sales email address on which you can make contact in addition to the telephone number. We do have a reference number, so you're welcome to include the reference MTD webinar, either through ordering the product directly online. But again, I suggest the best option might be to pick up the phone, quote reference MTD webinar, and we'll discuss any incentives we have at that given point of time. Okay, so I think all that remains for me to say is thank you for listening to this presentation. I trust that you found the demo of interest, and from myself and from Dan, we wish you well. Thank you once again.
Thank you.